Joining me for Worldview is Denis Campbell, editor-in-chief of UK Progressive Magazine and host of Worldview with Denis Campbell at youtube.com/Worldview Show. Denis, we've been talking a lot about embassy and consulate security in the aftermath of the Benghazi attacks, and we've seen the right-wing attempt to make this into a more unique incident than what it actually was during the time of George W. Bush, mostly for political gain. And then we've actually had some real discussions about embassy and consulate safety. And you have this great interview with John Jackson. Tell us who he is and what the interview was about.
Well, I first met John Jackson about a year and a half ago when I was traveling and working in Hong Kong, and it was a situation where we both asked the other what the other did. And he told me that he was mostly involved with cyber as well as traditional security. He graduated from Oregon State University around the time of the Vietnam War, so he was either forced to go into military service or work for encryption and other services, and he decided that since he was very interested in electrical motors and traditional DC magnetic motors, he'd go into that. And his first job was with Bell and Howell, and he invented actually a specific type of motor switch. And what happened was he got involved with some contracts, security contracts with the Pentagon and others, and he began to notice that there was a systemic flaw in the traditional little magnetic door hinges. You know, you see them on every door that has an alarm, whereas if you open it, it breaks the connection and sets the alarm off. He noticed that there was a faulty board in that, and it could be very easily defeated. And he came up with a video that he sent to me a little over about 8 or 9 months ago. And it was very dense and very technical, and I didn't really understand it. And then all of a sudden, with Benghazi and with some of the other things that had been going on, I reconnected with him, and I said, rather than write about this because people would fall asleep by paragraph 3, let's do a video and actually talk about it, and he could do a demonstration. And that's exactly what he did at his work desk.
So essentially, where does he say these types of locks that can be so easily defeated are being employed by the U.S. government?
Well, they're used everywhere. That's the issue. I mean, these standard switches are used in virtually every security situation. They're in the White House, they're in the Pentagon. Now, of course, there are other measures of security, but some of the things that he talks about in the video that we used on Worldview were, for example, if you're using these in desert locations, some of these sensors just won't work once the temperature gets above 98 degrees, the temperature of a human body. It was just astonishing what he actually revealed in this, and that the government actually knows that the switch is a faulty switch because somebody came out with an improvement and it got the UL listing, which basically says the government admits that these switches that are now in every one of its foreign embassies on every door, all you need is a razor-thin magnet that you can slip in between, and you can completely defeat the system. And most systems are set so that the instant the alarm trips, the door opens, cameras go on, and CCTV records. But if you can literally put one of those in, early in the day and then just come back and walk through any door at night. And I found that to be rather astonishing oversight. And he began to tell me both on and off camera about ways in which the Pentagon could have fixed this, could have done something about it years ago. And he showed me the type of switch in the video that can't be defeated because it has a computer switch inside, a computer chip, which gives it a signature. And I was just stunned, with all of the talk in Congress, how they've always been talking about the lack of security, yet they wouldn't fund any security for Benghazi or some of the other posts, they indeed cut it, that they would not even worry about the security of the basic doors and windows in every one of its embassies.
Now, isn't it possible that it's just not public information that these are not, in fact, the locks at many embassies and consulates? Or what is Jackson's idea about that? In other words, how does he know that these are the locks?
He went to the Pentagon as part of one of his things, and he went through 5 layers of security, and he saw these switches on every single one of the doors. So that was how he knew. All right, and he's been working on contracts with the government and with other governments for a number of years. So it's the type of thing you look at and you say, okay, if you now granted that probably you would come in contact with a human being, But in some of the outposts of some of these embassies, you have to wonder how secure is the facility, and are we not tempting another situation where somebody with a simple magnetic switch could come in? And he showed the improved one, the one that got the UL listing, and he was able to defeat that in 2 days with just a different magnet.
Right. So, and again, this really brings us back to, with as far as the embassy and consulate security, many of the politicians that are criticizing that there wasn't more security are responsible for there not having been more security by resisting requests for increased security funds, which really just gets us back to the kind of hypocrisy we're seeing on this issue from so many politicians.
It is the height of hypocrisy, and we're about to have more hypocrisy today on Thursday with all of the hearings around Brennan and the CIA and drones. People will beat their chests, where on the other hand they turned around and voted for it in the first place. So it's astonishing when you see it. But now you're in a situation where valuable lives, people, files, information, could literally be placed at risk because they refuse to upgrade the security of the doors and windows in all of our facilities.
Denis Campbell hosts Worldview with Denis Campbell. Check it out at youtube.com/Worldview Show. Subscribe for free. Don't miss any of the videos, including the interview with John Jackson that we've been talking about here. Denis, great stuff as always. We'll be watching.
Thank you.